Today, we're going to zoom all the way in to the microscopic level to talk about one of the most fundamental ideas in all of biology, tissues. It's really the story of how life gets organized, how you go from just one cell to, well, us. Let's dive in. Just stop and think about that for a second. Inside a giant redwood tree or a blue whale, there are literally millions of things happening at the exact same time. You've got movement, breathing, getting nutrients around, fighting off diseases. How on earth does any complex organism juggle all of that without just, falling apart? Well, the answer is actually a pretty elegant one, a division of labor. Instead of every single cell trying to be a jack of all trades, complex life creates specialized teams. See, when a group of cells has just one main job, it gets incredibly good at it. And that specialized team of cells, that is what we call a tissue. You get a bunch of muscle cells together and boom, you have muscle tissue that creates movement. Blood cells team up to transport oxygen. In plants, you've got phloem tissue moving food around. It's all about teamwork to get the job done as efficiently as possible. So this brings up a really cool question. When you look at plants and animals, are they built from the same basic set of tissues, just, arranged differently, or is something more fundamental going on? The answer is pretty fascinating. When you lay it out like this, everything just clicks. Plants don't move, right? So they invest all their resources into rigid, strong support structures. And get this, a lot of that support tissue is made of dead cells for maximum strength. Animals, on the other hand, we're always on the move, so we need living, flexible tissues. But that comes at a cost. It requires a ton more energy. So that one simple choice, to move or to stay put, sends these two groups down completely different evolutionary paths. Okay, so first let's look at the plant toolkit. You should think of this as the ultimate survival kit for a life lived in one spot. It's all about being stable, standing tall, and dealing with whatever the weather throws at you. So in plants, it really just boils down to two main categories, and the difference between them is simple. Can the cells divide or not? You've got the growth engines, which we call meristematic tissue, and then you have the specialized workforce, the permanent tissue. Now, you know how animals kind of grow all over? Well, plants don't do that. Their growth is pinpointed in very specific areas, like the very tip of a shoot or the very end of a root. That's where you find the meristematic tissue. These are the cells that are constantly dividing, pushing the plant up toward the sun and down into the soil. So once those meristem cells grow up and get a job, they become permanent tissues. There's parenchyma, which is your basic food storage. Parenchyma gives flexible support, which is why a stem can bend without snapping. But then you get sclerenchyma, which is pretty wild. The cells are actually dead. All that's left are these super thick, rigid walls. Have you ever tried to crack a coconut? That tough, fibrous husk is pure sclerenchyma. And then you've got the plant's internal plumbing system. This is built from complex tissues. You have xylem, which acts like a set of straws, pulling water and minerals up from the roots to the rest of the plant. And then you have phloem, which does the reverse. It transports the sugary food made in the leaves down to every other part of the plant that needs energy. It's like a biological two-way highway. All right, let's flip the script. Time for the animal toolkit. If plants are all about stability, animals are all about motion. This entire system is designed for an active life, for hunting, for escaping, for reacting to the world in a split second. In animals, you can pretty much sort every single tissue into one of four big categories. You've got epithelial for covering, connective for support, muscular for movement, and nervous for communication. That's the whole shebang. Epithelial tissue is basically the body's security guard. It's your skin, of course, but it's also the lining of your mouth, your stomach, your blood vessels, everything. It forms these tightly packed barriers that control exactly what gets in and what stays out, protecting all the delicate systems inside. Next up is connective tissue, and this is where things get really, really diverse. The main job is to support and bind everything else together, but it does this in so many different ways. The cells are kind of loosely scattered in a substance we call a matrix, and what that matrix is made of defines everything. And the range here is just wild. Blood is a connective tissue, where the matrix is liquid plasma. Bone is a connective tissue, where the matrix is hard and rigid. What could blood and bone possibly have in common? Well, they're both connective tissues. Same goes for ligaments, cartilage, and even body fat. They're all doing a unique job of holding you together. Of course, an active life demands movement, and that's where muscular tissue comes in. Striated muscle, or skeletal muscle, is the stuff you control. When you decide to lift your arm, that's what you're using. Smooth muscle works automatically in your organs, like your digestive system. And then there's cardiac muscle, found only in the heart, working non-stop every second of your life. And finally, none of that amazing, coordinated movement would be possible without nervous tissue. This stuff is made of cells called neurons, which are designed for one thing: to send signals super, super fast. It's the body's high-speed internet, connecting your brain to your muscles and letting you react to the world instantly. So after all that, what's the big idea? What's the main takeaway here? Well, it all boils down to one of the most powerful concepts in biology: form follows function. The way an organism is built, right down to its cells, is a direct result of how it lives its life. And this quote just nails it. The huge differences we see between plants and animals, they aren't random. They are the logical outcome of two totally opposite strategies for survival. One based on staying put, and the other based on chasing things down. So when you see a massive oak tree standing strong against the wind, or a cheetah sprinting across the savanna, you're not just looking at something cool. You're seeing the result of a microscopic blueprint, a story that was written in the language of its tissues. It's not an accident, it's by design. Which kind of leaves you with a final thought, right? The connection between a plant's dead support cells and its incredible strength is this perfect, invisible design that shapes our world. So it makes you wonder, what other hidden blueprints are out there, quietly defining the rules for everything we see?